Welcome to our Getting Started webinar. We will be reviewing the page ladder, how to add fonts, setting up the ReplayIt private photo submission account, and how to transfer material from 2022 account to the current year. You'll be able to find all the information I'm covering in the Memory Book Online Manual under Design and Creation. This webinar will be approximately 20 to 30 minutes long. The kits have finally gone out this week, so you should be receiving those in the mail in the next couple of weeks. And if you don't get your kit right away, you can always request a digital version of the manual that you can refer to also. So to get to our login page, you can come to memorybook.com. That's our company website. And here in the top left corner is a Memory Book Online login link. It's going to take you to the main screen here. You'll want to choose 2023. This is the current year you're in. Now, if you were wanting to get back in and get to last year's information, you'd of course choose 2022 in the drop down, and you'd use that login information from last year to access last year's book. But you'll type in your job number and then your username and password. And I have it saved here in my Google Chrome. So we're going to let's go, and it's going to take you here to the welcome screen. And there's a deadline clock here, and this is a countdown to the date that you've given the customer rep as to when you need your books. So if you need to change that, you'll need to visit with your rep and have that changed. And then here's your total pages. I have 73 that are not started. So when you first log in, all of your whole circle, your whole graph is going to be red. But I've been in here working, and this is my demo account. Here's going to be upcoming events. So it's going to be reminders of maybe getting your cover submitted, getting your class photos on CD submitted, and so on. And in the tasks, you can actually set up tasks or reminders for your team as to, maybe you have a yearbook meeting or you need to get together to choose the cover. You can set these tasks in here. That kind of helps everybody stay on track. The tagged images, you don't really need to pay attention to that unless you are tagging all your activity images so that you can keep track of how many times people are in the book. And then under the images, this is kind of an overview of what images you have in the image library. So those will all change as you're uploading. So let's get started with the page ladder. So you'll go to Plan, and in the drop down, go to Page Ladder. And this is how your pages are going to be arranged in the book. Page 1 is going to be by itself on the right-hand side, and the left-hand side will be the back of the cover. So you'll actually put something on page 1. A lot of people get confused and think this is the cover, but it's actually the first page of the book. And then your even pages are on the left and your odd pages are on the right. So you've got 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7. Now, the color code around the page is just the status of the page. So it's red, it's not started. Yellow is in progress. So I've put things on these pages and I've removed them. And then if you've marked them completed, they're going to have a green border. And then once you get them submitted, they're all going to have a black border around them. And there won't be any buttons to the side of either of the thumbnails. And so all your options will be taken. You'll have your pages completed and submitted, so you won't have any more options. So if you get some pages submitted and you need to go back in and make a correction, you'll need to call us and have us unsubmit those pages for you. The filters over here on the left-hand side, you can choose how you view your pages here in this page ladder. Maybe if you just want a quick view of who you have, what pages you have assigned to your different staff, you can click on those different options. We also have people panicked when they call because they don't get to see all their pages here, and it's because the filters they've changed the filter somehow, maybe by accident. So you want it to be all staff and all deadlines and all page types. You can go in and change your color in black and white on certain pages. All your page statuses. So if you chose completed, I don't have any of my pages completed, so it looks like something's happened to all my pages. So I'm going to all page statuses and all lock statuses. So if you go down through here and you lock any of these pages, you can view those locked pages here using the filters. In this toolbar up here, there's a print. When you click on print all, it's going to save a PDF proof of the whole book. It'll take a little bit for that to generate, and then you can actually save that to your computer, and you can send it to maybe others on your team, or maybe your administration needs to look at the proof before you submit the pages. This is where you'll go to get that whole PDF or that proof of the whole book. You can print the ladder so that you can print it out, and maybe you want to manually write down what you kind of plan what you want on the pages, and then you can come in here and type that information in. Here you can select all the pages if you're going through and doing one task at once. So you could click there, it's going to select all these pages, and you can click complete, and it'll complete that action for you. And there's others here as you go along. If you wanted to lock all the pages, you can actually select them all here and click on the lock. There's a display range. If you're wanting to just see a range of pages and maybe just save a PDF from that, you can choose these ranges here, and it'll just show these particular ranges in the page ladder at a time. Here in the teal toolbar, don't exit out of this because you won't be able to get this option back if you wanted to go back and use it. But if you load last year's descriptions and sections, if you filled these areas in here where it says section and description, it's going to move all of that information forward from last year. And you can still go in and edit that information. So on page 2, if I didn't want that to be my school board page, I could still go in here and delete that information, and I'm going to make that my PTA page. And anytime you make changes here or assign pages to different students, you'll want to go over here to the Save All button. So anytime that Save All comes up, you want to click that so that you've got those changes saved. Now, when you're assigning pages, you'll go here behind staff, and you'll choose in the drop-down your different staff members that you've created. And I'll show you how to create those staff logins here in a second. The little printer icon, that's going to show you a PDF proof of the whole page. And you will have to look at each one or view the proof before you can actually submit the pages when you get to that point. So if it's telling you need to look at the PDF proof, this is how you'll view that page. You'll click on the little printer icon. Okay, so since we've talked about assigning pages, let's go to the next option, and that's to create your staff members for your team. So you can create different logins for different students or different people on your committee, and so that they can log in and they can work on particular pages. If you just have a couple of people and you're all responsible for working on the book, this step isn't necessary. You can give them the advisor login. But if you have a group of students, you'll want to create a login for each of those kids so that they can go in and just work on particular pages and have just their own login, so they don't have access to the whole book. The advisor has the highest level of privileges, and you have to be logged in to unlock pages, to submit the pages and move images and delete images out of that inbox staff. So you'll want to, or the ReplayIt image, that inbox. So you'll want to make sure you're careful who you give these different accesses to. Now the editor has a few more privileges than the staff. A staff person can't unlock pages and they can't add fonts. They can't submit pages. So you'll want to probably give students the staff login. If you need a list of the different privileges for those different roles, you can find that on page 167 in the manual. Now to create a staff login, you'll click on Add Staff, and you'll put in the first name and the last name. You'll create a username, and you'll create a password for them and add their email in there, and then choose what role you want them to have, and then click Save. Now when you log in and you come here and maybe you want to update or you want to see what your password was for this student, it's always just going to show up little dots. It's not going to give you that password. So if a student loses the password, you'll have to come in here and choose something else or reset it for them, basically. So once you get those staff members created, they're going to be here underneath their roles. And you can make them inactive. So maybe they're done creating their pages. You can turn their access off so they won't be able to log in and do anything else with the book. You can delete them, and this is where you would go then to also edit their information. And if you wanted to view what progress has been made by that student, you can go here to view activity, and it's going to show you what they've done in the last few times that they've logged in. You can also email your host group here, so that's the reason you want to keep those emails up to date in their login or their staff screen. And you can click the email all, and it'll pop up a screen that you can type their email and send it to everybody. So once you've got those staff logins created, then you can go in here to your page ladder and you can start assigning pages. So I want page 6. I want John Smith to do this one, and I'm going to have him do this one on page 7. You can also choose a second person to work on those pages if you wanted to. So I'm going to save all. So now when this student logs in, whenever they go to work on their page, they'll only be able to work on those pages that you have assigned to them. Now, if there's other pages that are unassigned and you don't have a assignment on these in the drop-down, they'll be able to work on those pages still. So if you just want them to work on specific pages, you'll want to assign all of your pages to someone so that they can just work on those particular pages. Now, if you have the student come in here and lock the page once they're done, you'll click on these little lock icons here in the middle. You as an advisor can come in and unlock those, but the student wouldn't be able to if they have the staff status. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how to add fonts, and the advisor has to do this. There's only 2 fonts that are in the program when you first log in, so if you want to use others, you'll need to go in and choose which ones you want to use. You can go down through here and you'll click on a font and you can see the preview over here at the right. And then if you want to use it, you'll click active. And then when you go to the create your page, one of the options will be the font that you just added. If you're creating a style, you'll click on the style, and I'm going to create a style. And a style is actually maybe something that you want it to show up on the page every time the same way in the same size. You can still change the color and modify it. It just makes it a little bit quicker if you have the style already formatted and you can just drag it over there. So I'm going to name this one my headline for candidates. I'm going to keep it the headline category, and the appetite, the one that I've just added, and I want it to be 36, and I'm going to keep the attributes normal and save. So now when I go to my fonts tab in the designer, I'll be able to find my headline right here. You can always come in and delete these, or you can edit them. Maybe you want to change the size of it. Maybe 36 is too large after you get to working with it. You can go in here and change it and save it. There it is. You also want to keep in mind what the font is going to be used for. You want all your text to be able to be legible. So you want to keep in mind what kind of backgrounds you're adding to the page and what color your fonts are so that you can read names and see what they say. That's one thing that we struggle with here when the books get into production, is not being able to see the text, dark text on dark backgrounds. So be sure to watch that. If you want to see all the fonts that we have available for the program, they're on page 235. They start there and they'll show you what different categories they're in. There's also a page on page 178 that shows you complementary fonts that might look good to each, with together, and you might want to use those. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the ReplayIt private photo submission. This is actually a separate website that you can activate, and you can give this link to maybe all your teachers if they're taking pictures throughout the year, but you want them to be able to upload the pictures. You can give them this link and they'll be able to log in and upload their pictures they've taken. They won't be able to see any of the book, or they won't work on the book. This is just a separate site, and they'll end up in a folder in the image library, and I'll show you that in a minute. But to set up the site, you'll just click this first little check mark. Do you want to have a website for parents and others to upload images? And then you'll set a start date. Now, if you set this date maybe from a week from now, you won't be able to go in and test that until that date. So mine is active the 13th, so mine's already ready to go. And then you want to keep in mind what date you want to turn it off. If you have events pretty close to when your book is going to be submitted, you could keep that turned on as late as possible, and then students or parents can still go ahead and upload. But you'll want to keep your submission date in mind when you're setting this. And if it's going to be for next year, be sure to set this for 2023, because it won't let you save and activate this site unless it says 2023. You don't need to change the number in the maximum number of images. You'll just click the little check mark here and then click save, and this information will pop up here. This is the link that you're going to want to send to your other staff or your committee or parents. And this is, if they click on their link, then they'll just go directly into this screen, and then they'll be able to choose their images and upload them. This is a great way if you have maybe a 6th grade class or an 8th grade class that you want to put baby pictures with. This is a great way to collect those baby pictures. The parents can make sure they have a decent picture of their baby picture, and then they can upload it here. Now, when you upload those pictures, or when your parents do, it's going to go to the image library. Oh, goodness. Let me get back here. I can't have two tabs open at the same time for the same account. So in my image library, you'll find them here in the inbox ReplayIt. Now, when they get uploaded, they're all just going to land in this one folder. There's no way to make subfolders inside of this one. So if you're expecting a lot of pictures in there, you may need to get help to get these sorted. And like I say, your staff members aren't going to be able to access this folder. So what I would suggest is you go here to your activity section and you'd create a folder. And as these come in, then you could actually select these images and move them into the folder for your person that's helping you. And then they could access them and they could create other folders and say, oh, this is a PTO picture or PTA picture. I'm going to create a folder and put it in there. Or this is the 6th grade field trip. I'm going to create a folder and put those in there. So that might help you stay on top of sorting these, because I know it is kind of overwhelming when you get a whole bunch of pictures in there at once. Now, if you're wanting to access images from last year, you'll log into last year's book and you'll go here to the image library. And then let's say this image share folder, I'm going to move it forward so that we can see it in next year's book. You'll select the folder and you'll click the 2023 button here. And then it's going to put an arrow on the folder, and that's letting you know that it's moved forward. So then you'll have to log out of last year's book, and when you log into this year's book, you'll go here and it says My 2022 Images, and then you'll find the folder that you moved forward. So in this case, I have these the staff pictures. I moved those forward from last year. So you can select any of the images that you want to and move them down into a current folder so that you can put them on a page. Now, another thing you might want to do from last year would be save some templates. So any of your templates that you saved from last year, when you log in and go here to your new page designer, under the Designs tab, in the drop-down, you'll go to Custom My 2022 Templates. So all of these templates I've saved from last year. Let me just go to a new page if I have a clear page. And you can just click and drag those templates over to the page. And I did skip a step when we were in the page ladder, but when you save a template like this, it's going to keep your heading or whatever text is in those text boxes. It's going to keep that, maintain that text. So these say student names and this says faculty and staff. I'm going to go back to my page ladder here and load last year's page designs. If you click this button, it's going to pop the templates onto the pages exactly like they were last year when you submitted your pages. It's going to take out the text. It's going to just put it to the default text, and the image boxes are going to be blank. If you're wanting to pretty much keep the same layout from last year, this is a nice way to kind of get a head start on getting your pages laid out. And just because you have those templates on the page doesn't mean you have to use them. You can modify or change anything you want to on those pages. It's not set in stone. Let me go over my list here and make sure I've kind of gone over everything. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat bar, and I'll be happy to go over that and answer those. If you want to see how to set up that ReplayIt private photo submission, you'll go to 179 in the manual. I also want to remind everybody to be sure to send in their class photos on CD, your link, or the CD so that we can upload your class portraits. You'll need to let us know how you want those on the pages. If you want them to be sorted by teacher or grade or homeroom, just let us know. And then when we get those uploaded for you, they'll be in the image library. And you will also receive an email letting you know they've been uploaded. But they'll be sorted here under portraits, however you ask us to sort those into folders. Now, if you guys try to upload your own portraits, if you'll notice these have a tag on the corner. The images won't be tagged, and you'd have to go in and manually tag a name to each image so that they would flow onto the page in alphabetical order. Otherwise, they're just going to flow onto the page in the order that they're numbered, or their first names, or whatever the images are named by. So do we have any questions? Yes, it is recorded, and we'll send out the link or the for those recordings next week. We'll have the one from Tuesday and the one from today. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope this webinar was helpful. Please join us next week, or 2 weeks, I believe, for working with portraits. We will show you how to organize your class portraits so you can use the auto flow function to build class pages. Thanks, everyone.